Hey everyone, I'm your host, Robbie Strazynski. Thanks so much for joining us on episode number 71 of CardsChat, the friendliest poker podcast in town. Today's guest has over $2.7 million in live tournament earnings in his career to go along with 3 World Series of Poker bracelets and 4 WSOP Circuit rings. Before he transitioned to live poker, he started out as an online crusher as he's a former SuperNova Elite player. But what about the man behind that magnificent beard? What makes him tick away from the felt? On today's show, we get to know Ryan Leng a little bit better. Ryan, welcome to the CardsChat podcast.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Good. Yeah, I really appreciate you having me on. So
cool. And thank you for joining us. It's a little after midnight Las Vegas time, so we appreciate the late night session. It's fun.
Yeah. So it's still like afternoon for me. So
I know the feeling. Usually when I record, it's like, my midnight here in Israel. So it's I get it. So for starters, I have to admit, full disclosure, and I hope you take it, don't take this the wrong way. I had not known who you were or heard about you before your incredible run at this year's WSOP, at the 2021 WSOP. So I'm sorry, but I'm also truly glad that we're going to get to rectify that today. I'm personally very eager to learn about you, your career, so many people had heard of you. Who is this Ryan Leng guy? And I know for a fact that so many folks in the CardsChat community feel the same because, 71 episodes in, we received more questions for you from the community than for any previous interviewee. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so kudos to you. That's another, achievement right up there with the bracelets. Yeah. More questions. So you started playing poker in high school, right?
Yep.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And how did you first get into it?
So I started playing with my hockey buddies in high school. Hockey was life. It was, more important than school to me. And they were my brothers. We were, they were my closest friends. And so we spent, all of our time together. And on weekends we do road trips and we play poker on the coach bus on the way to our road trips and stuff. And it started out with like different card games, just like simple card games, not quite poker. And then once we started watching poker on ESPN, we watched the Barconi year right before the year before Moneymaker. And we started to play poker just based off of what we saw there. And I don't even think we were completely following the exact rules of No Limit Hold'em until the Moneymaker year. And then we watched all that fantastic ESPN coverage and just fell in love with it. And then all of a sudden, all the other card games went out the window, and that's all we played. And then my house just kind of became the place to play poker every weekend. People were coming over, and we just have little tournaments and stuff. It was a blast.
So many people, we say, we're products of the Moneymaker boom. It's rare to hear, there was no Varconi boom. Was it like you envisioned yourself also getting your head shaved or something like that? Like Phil, what was it about that year's coverage that drew you in?
I think it was just a coincidence that we happened to start playing cards around that time. And then, one of us was probably up late, it's like ESPN at 3 a.m. when they're showing all the random stuff. They used to have darts and stuff, it's the kind of stuff that people aren't watching. Is nothing during primetime stuff. And I remember seeing poker and I thought, okay, this is interesting. And I watched it. And just because we had been playing cards, I was fascinated. I said, hey guys, why don't we try this game? This is the World Championships, the World Series. This is the game they play. Let's give this game a try. And so we kind of threw it into the mix. And then obviously the Moneymaker year was a much bigger boom. And then we had more and more friends getting into it from there.
Pretty cool. Well, you said that your hockey teammates, they were your brothers. You traveled around with them. Did you have aspirations to one day maybe be a professional hockey player?
Yeah, actually, my whole childhood it was. Wow. So I played at the highest level of youth hockey that you could play. So we were traveling, all around the United States and Canada, and it was very, very competitive. And it's that level is meant as sort of a training ground for people to move forward, whether it's to play college or play juniors, and then obviously everyone's dream is to play professionally, play in the NHL. So pretty much anyone that I was playing with or against at the time, had aspirations to play in the NHL one day.
It's not like the Mighty Ducks, nothing like that. No, no.
No,
This was the real
no,
deal.
it was very serious, very competitive.
So, I mean, so many folk, I mean, I know I'm much more a fan personally of basketball than hockey, but I know, okay, obviously there's plenty of folks who don't get into the NBA, but they can still play professionally in other leagues around the world. Did you kind of say to yourself, well, if NHL isn't for me, maybe I'll go play in like Finland or Russia or something like that?
No, for me, I kind of stopped wanting to make my whole life hockey around towards like maybe sophomore, junior year in high school. I loved it. It was a lot of fun, but the work that you had to put in to make it to the NHL, to get into, to a D1 school, play college hockey, was tough enough. And I didn't like spending time in the gym. I was more interested in using my brain. And that's when I started to get fascinated with poker. And I was kind of burnt out with hockey, all the traveling, it was just a little too serious for me starting at such a young age. And I decided my senior year that I'd be done with it. We had a great team, a great bunch of friends. And it was, I just decided I don't want to play beyond this. I've had my fun in hockey. I would have to devote my entire life to it. And I was just a lot more interested in other things at the time, poker being one of them.
Sure. You still play kind of like for fun, pick up games recreationally today? Yeah.
So actually, yeah, I just got started. I took almost 10 years off, maybe more than 10 years, where I hadn't been on the ice. And I actually just bought myself all new hockey equipment.
Nice.
And got on the ice about a week ago for the first time.
Is it wobbly knees? Does it feel the same?
It was rough. My feet hurt. They're not used to carrying that much weight on the ice. And yeah, my lungs weren't so great. I was getting tired pretty quickly, but after about an hour, things started to feel normal again. It just felt like I had been skating all these years. So cool. It felt really nice. It was like a very nostalgic feeling. Nice. Felt like some old neurological pathways in my brain had reconnected or returned on. And so yeah, I'm loving that. I'm going to start doing that a little bit more these days, just as a means to exercise, to try and get in shape and have fun doing it.
And I hope you make some more good friends doing it. It's obviously you're not there alone on the ice, so that sounds like it could be a nice outlet, away from the film. Yeah, very cool. All right, so you said you got more into poker. I know your dad kind of played an integral component in that, and you were playing online. Can you sort of tell us about getting more into it, that sort of stage of the beginning of your career?
Yeah, so when we were playing with friends, it still got very competitive because we were all super competitive people, and I wanted to be the best. Just like any game that I learn, I want to compete. I want to be better than my opponents. And my dad and I were always very competitive, no matter what we did. And I mean, still to this day, he hasn't golfed in 10 years, and he just moved down to Phoenix from Chicago. So he's just taken up golf. And I mean, the trash talk between us is just too funny. So he's gonna, we have all these golf bets and stuff now, all these golf future bets. I have to lay him 20 strokes. It's absurd, but we're always so competitive no matter what we do. So he would play poker with us. Him and I would play heads up. If he would, he'd tell me I have to go mow the lawn, or I have to go pick up the dog poop. I'd say, well, how about I play you heads up for it? And then, we'd play each other heads up for whether or not I had to do chores. And
right.
Yeah. And then he deposited something like $30 on a PokerStars account. And we started playing just $1 tournaments. And before that, we'd been playing all the free rolls and stuff. So we'd sit there and we'd play, we'd chat, we'd discuss the game a little bit. And yeah, it was fun. It was a nice, fun little, there was some bonding and some competition between us.
Pretty cool. I mean, so I mean, when you got into it, you said, you wanted to kind of master the game. Between that and sort of what you saw on television with Varconi, with Moneymaker, was that the point already at the beginning when you're sitting with your dad, say, hey, maybe I can make a career out of this and do this for a living? Or was it just sort of a little bit more pure at that point?
No, I'd say right away, I thought this could be something. I don't think my parents ever thought that it was something realistic. And I think I always kind of kept it far enough away where it's still just sort of a pipe dream, like, oh, this would be neat. I could be a
Right.
professional poker player. But I kind of always thought that I would probably go to college and find something else more realistic, and poker would be something that, you know, I had fun doing. But I actually, so my parents, having just moved, found all this old stuff that they had to go through, and they found an old project my senior year in high school where there was a, I forget what the class was, but basically we had to give our sort of goals and projections for the future. And I had this like whole funny thing. I had this thing where like it, you know, I had this recording of me playing poker and like winning World Series, you know, the World Series of Poker, winning the main event.
Wow.
Did this whole little bit, and it's all written down in a notebook. It's really funny. I completely forgot about it, but so apparently, yeah, as a senior in high school, it was, you know, it was a pretty big goal of mine.
Amazing.
Whether I thought it was super realistic or not at that point is another story, but
Right.
yeah, it was definitely a goal.
So that's pretty cool. I mean, like the fact is, you said you bonded with your dad over it. It's something you both have a passion for. Between him and your mom, when you did say, and when it became clear that this is the path that you're going to be taking, how did they react? I mean, it's a bit unconventional.
You know, because I don't think there was necessarily a moment where that happened. It was more of like a gradual slide. They knew I mean, obviously they knew I was playing in high school. They had fun with it. They didn't mind. And then when I went to college, they didn't know that I was skipping class to drive out to Indian casinos in California. And I would, you know, me and some buddies would go play. We'd go play 1-2. We'd either, you know, win 1,000 or go broke and come back.
Right.
And
I'm still at that stage. Yeah, go ahead. So most of us are, I think.
Well, and that, you know, I learned some tough lessons in those days. And yeah, I mean, it was around then, I think, that they realized that like I wasn't wanting to, I didn't find anything in college that I wanted to do. My parents were paying for school. I was, you know, very fortunate to have them, you know, paying my tuition and not have to take out student loans. And after a year at Arizona State of, you know, playing more poker and partying more than going to school, I just thought, you know, this isn't responsible. I can't spend their money when I'm, you know, I don't have any educational goals at the moment. I had no idea what I wanted to do, if I wanted, you know, what degree. I didn't even know what major I wanted to study. So yeah, at that point I decided I'd come home, and so I dropped out of ASU. I still took a couple of classes at a community college back in Illinois, but I still just kind of lost, just didn't really have any aspirations in school at the time. And I loved poker. And that's when I got a job dealing poker with a charity company. So they go and hold these little poker tournaments and cash games all around the northwest suburbs of Illinois. And so basically I was just like a volunteer dealer, worked on tips. And so I could deal poker as often as I wanted or as little as I wanted. I didn't have to show up. I could go and deal, and I could save up a little bit of money, and then I could go play. And that's what I did for a while. I would deal poker for a few weeks, save up some money, play with that money, go broke, deal again. And the whole time it was like a learning process. As I was dealing, I was learning about the game. And yeah, so it was fun. It was a good way for me to really kind of immerse myself in poker. And then eventually it got to a point where you know, I got good enough to where I just didn't have to deal anymore, and then it just kind of took off from there.
Sure. I mean, poker can be a pretty lonely pursuit, almost by definition. You know, did you try to actively look for other people who were sort of in the same boat? Did you try to find, you know, people to bounce hands off of and strategy at that point, or were you really just like the lone wolf strategy?
No, I definitely found some friends. And I mean, there's no way I could have ever improved to the points that I needed to improve to at many different points in my career without friends. That's the number one thing for me when people ask, you know, well, what should I do to get better at poker? Get a group of friends and study together, bounce hands off of each other, share study tools, share information. poker is it's a zero-sum game, and it's an individual game. We don't have any like team poker tournaments or anything like that. I mean, well, very few. So intuitively, it kind of makes sense to go off on your own and just sort of be competitive and not let people in. And I think that's a big mistake. And I think the best thing you can do is find friends who are better than you, friends who have the same aspirations as you. And that's what I did. That's what I did when I was dealing and playing at those charity games. I got to know some very good players. And they liked me as a dealer. I was a very good dealer. I was, a friendly dealer, and was always wanted to sit and chat poker at the table, whether I was dealing or, before or after a game, or whether I was playing. And so from there, I kind of met the best players who played at those charity games and became friends with them. And then we all just kind of bounced off of each other, learned from each other, and grew from there.
Well, in case any of them may be listening, any shout outs?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give my good friend Rusty Strazynski. I met him. I used to deal poker to him, and I used to think, oh, he's really good. We wound up becoming very close friends. In fact, he married my fiance's best friend.
Wow.
So, and they introduced us. So they had been together for a while, and they hooked us up, and now I just got engaged to Nikki. Just a few days ago.
Oh, wow.
Okay,
congrats.
Thank you. So yeah, I got to give him a shout out because he was there through it all. We lived together in Vegas, Chicago, Costa Rica, and Canada. And so towards the end of rooming with him and playing poker, he was starting law school, and so now he's a full-time lawyer. And he's a dad now. He's living the family life and has a good career. So we just kind of went opposite paths, but yeah.
You remain close.
Yep.
That's cool. Just for clarification, Rusty Tchaikovsky, Robbie Strazynski, not the same guy, both Polish roots, but just in case anyone's listening that closely. You mentioned Costa Rica. A lot of folks back in those days, they went to Costa Rica specifically to play online. When you were focused more on online play at PokerStars, you achieved SuperNova Elite, something it's like climbing Everest. A lot of here, okay, I did it. Not a lot of people got to experience such a thing or get to experience such a thing. What was that like? Not just reaching the mountaintop, but like the process to get there. I mean, you really have to put in the work and the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a grind. And that was, for me, those were the best. I mean, it was definitely the biggest struggle in my career, were the 3 years getting SuperNova Elite, just the hardest thing that I've ever done in terms of, in poker. But also my most kind of formative years. I look back at those years fondly now, just the struggle and everything. A part of me misses it. But man, it was so tough. And if you want to compare it to climbing a mountain or to climbing Everest, then I decided to wait until the weather was as bad as possible to climb Everest, because I would put off the bulk of the volume until the end of the year. Wow. I was a bit of a procrastinator. I always have been. And so October, November, December, I always had to play a lot of volume. A lot of 12-hour days or more, 20 tables at a time. And the games are tough towards the end of the year because all the SuperNova Elites are doing that. Yeah. So it's tough to find soft games. So yeah, I mean, the experience was a big struggle, but it forced me to put in the hours and forced me to study, forced me to analyze my play. And that's when I started using HUDs and started talking to other players, like very well-established pros, and getting coaching. It was the first time I actually had like an official coach. So yeah, it was an interesting experience, very, very tough, but worth it. I mean, I think I don't think I'd be here today if it wasn't for those years.
We'll definitely talk a little bit about coaching soon. That's a little later on in the questionnaire. But about that online period of time, like you said, it was extremely tough to achieve SuperNova Elite. Besides getting to that status, were there any particular high points of your online career, any big wins, or, heck, even big folds, or, moments where you're like, you look back and you're supremely proud of yourself?
Not really. I mean,
Hmm.
the biggest achievement during those years was specifically the full grind of SuperNova Elite. It's putting in the hours. It's not like playing MTTs where you can like grind hard, but you get one big win,
Right.
and that'll make your whole year. So it was just a days in, days out grind, and I think just overall, just learning, like from where I started my year one in SuperNova Elite to where I was when I came out the other end. I was just such a better player. I think I was a lot more proud of just the overall work that I had to put in to survive SuperNova Elite. I had a few MTT scores here and there, but I wasn't really playing a lot of MTTs. So I mean, maybe I had like a 20K score, and that really helps boost the bankroll and just makes you feel like, okay, now I can play some higher stakes sit and goes. That way I can play less tables. But then you play the higher stakes sit and goes, and they're tougher, and your ROI drops. So it's like, and then you go back down to the lower stakes, and you got to play more tables. And I mean, it was really just the whole grind. Every year that I achieved it, it would always be right around New Year's Eve, and I would always celebrate by, maybe buying a nice bottle of scotch or rewarding myself somehow, because the whole year is just such a tough grind. Yeah. And to finally just be like, oh, I made it, is a really nice feeling.
So why did you transition out to live poker then?
The online grind I knew wasn't going to be permanent. For me, it felt like a nice way to make money off of rakeback while learning. And then, and those fields were so tough.
What years are we talking, just for context?
2012, 13, and then 15, I think.
Fair. So a very European heavy fields also.
Yes, very European heavy fields. A lot of these players that were playing these sit and goes wound up becoming absolute crushers. Some of the, they're like part of the, like the German high roller crew now. I mean, these guys were so good. They were working really hard and working together and studying together. And so to have to compete with them, to be able to compete with them, it was interesting because like when I started SuperNova Elite, I probably wasn't the kind of, I probably wouldn't be able to crush live poker year one. And then by the time I came out, I didn't realize how much I had improved until I went back to live poker. Mm-hmm. And then I realized I after 3 years of battling with these, these tough young pros,
right,
who are better than me and working harder than me, smarter than me. Now I come out the other end, and all of a sudden it's like live poker. You see these people making mistakes that like you just don't see online. And it was almost like I just kind of like exhaled, like, oh man, this is like, what a relief.
Right.
Like poker's easy here. I can play live poker. I can play less hands. I can relax. And it was nice to not have to make money off of the volume that you're playing and actually focus on winning rather than just playing, with SuperNova Elite. Obviously you want to win as much as possible, but if you break even, you're making a ton of money. So
right.
It was nice to kind of transition away from, the rakeback grind to, okay, let's try and make some money. And
let's just win. Yeah.
and you think about the game differently, now I'm like, it's weird. It's almost like playing, like I play a lot of chess these days, and I play a lot of very fast. I play bullet chess, so it's like 1 minute games.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just acting so quickly. And then every now and then I'll slow down. I'll play a 30-minute game. And it's like, I get to slow down. I see the board differently. And I get to like, think of these like moves, like, many moves ahead. And it's a whole different game. And that's sort of how I felt coming off of online and jumping into live poker. It was like this whole new way of looking at poker. And I really enjoyed it and just fell in love with it.
You find more joy in one over the other, or you kind of still enjoy both for whatever they give you?
I certainly enjoy both very much. I still love playing online, but there's nothing better than being deep in a live poker tournament. Being deep in a well, I highly recommend it.
There you go. Okay.
I mean, being deep in a live World Series event, like a Bracelet event, and there's 3-4 tables left and the adrenaline gets going. And
Yeah.
I mean, you can just feel it. Like there's a moment where everyone just starts to really just kind of bear down, and some people tighten up, and you just see people looking at that clock, and the final table is not that far off, and now all of a sudden it's like your bluffs get through more, you get to steal more, and it's such a, I don't know, I love that feeling. For me, that's when poker is fun. That's when I'm just like in that moment, that competitive moment where things are on the line, and it's everything's on the line. It's for me, there's nothing more fun than that.
Awesome. It's always great to hear someone who, not just playing professionally, making a living from it, but also definitely enjoys the game itself and the success. That's a really cool thing to hear. You said, part of competing with the Germans who had each other and stuff, you utilized coaching, and you tried to. I was kind of wondering, like, why did you choose sort of that avenue? Like, these days, we've got like so many training sites. How did you choose? How do you say, okay, I'm going to go one-on-one with someone that's right for me? And how do you know who to choose in a circumstance like that?
So I had used all the training sites. I was always on training sites watching videos. But yeah, when I first started doing SuperNova Elite, I just started noticing some of these players just having graphs that just went straight up. Like they never had swings, and I'm just wondering, like, who are these guys? Like, why are they so good? Are they just math geniuses or what? And a lot of them would have blogs and stuff, and you could reach out to them. And so I was just always curious. I was always curious what the best players were doing, and I'd try and reach out to people. I'd try and get in contact with people. And I just slowly made some friends who were, very good, very competitive. And then I met one friend, Dom Zito, who we worked together for a SuperNova Elite coaching site. But he was just one of the biggest sit and go winners in the games that I was playing. He was, just one of the absolute best. And I noticed he was doing coaching, so I hit him up. I said, "Hey, I'm a SuperNova Elite. Like I'm basically break even. Can you help me improve?" And so he took me on as a student, and then we just started doing these one-on-one sessions, and it was better than anything for me, because you really get, you can watch all these videos that you want, and that, not to take away from those, but it's nice to have someone looking at your game, seeing everything that you're doing wrong, because you could, you might watch all these like big pots and these big hands and figure things out, but you might have this tiny leak where, like, oh, you're opening too wide here, you're not opening enough here, where it's just a very small thing that's going to affect your ROI long term. But it's hard to kind of pick up those mistakes. So I think it's important to do some one-on-one coaching for those kind of things.
I'm sure, all of us want to win. We all enjoy the game. We all want to play. And I'm sure there's so many folks out there who say, okay, I really want to go ahead and take my game to the next level. And, again, frankly, these days, there's just so many ways and options to do that. At what point would you say that folks like that should move from just sort of the generic training sites that are, kind of like, can't necessarily focus on the specific of the individual, and say, okay, maybe you should consider one-on-one coaching? What's that, that point that person reaches?
Well, I think it really depends on what they want out of poker. But if they're looking to improve, and they want to look inwards at their own game, I think they, I think that they should do that right away. Like if that's something, like if you're a person who just decides, hey, like, I want to get better at poker for whatever reason. You don't have to be a pro. Maybe you want to be the best at your home game. Maybe you just want to improve a little bit. Like I said before, I think, the first thing is get a group of friends, start a little group chat where you all post hands, where you can all bounce ideas off of each other. And there are communities that do this. There are, training sites and training communities that have these big Discord groups where you can do that. But you could also kind of branch off into smaller groups. But yeah, I think
I don't enjoy it, but I think that even on the CardsChat forums, there may be a couple threads like that also. So check it out,
awesome.
Guys. Yeah, I think so.
Awesome.
Yeah. Go ahead.
That's perfect. And that's a great place to start. Like, get in there, do that, and then, like, maybe if you have a few people that you constantly see in there that seem knowledgeable and stuff, start picking their brain. And I mean, maybe find someone who's you don't have to find the you don't need the best poker player in the world to be your coach if you're just starting out, right? Like if you're a chess player and you have a 1,000 ELO ranking, you don't need Magnus Carlsen to coach you. You need somebody who's like a 1,500 to coach you and to to teach you the areas that you are lacking to improve just the next step. So I would just maybe look towards people who are maybe the next step or two ahead of you in whatever your personal goals are in poker, and then just reach out to some people, find a friend to chat with, find a coach.
That's like some pretty solid advice. And now we get to understand where all that solid advice comes from. We're not results oriented, but you can't help look at these amazing results you've got on your hand-in mob. You've got WSOP caches going back to 2011, but it was in 2017 that's when you kind of really started making some significant waves in the series. You finished, I'm just checking my notes here, runner-up in a 1,500 no limit event, and then you went on a fantastic run in the main event. You finished 41st out of what must have been got to be close to 7,000 players.
8,000, yeah.
Yeah. So what is a run like that? I mean, again, it's something that not too many of us get to experience. But you made it to what? I guess that's day 7, day 6.
I don't remember, but yeah, 6 or 7.
Yeah. So does that? I mean, besides running well, like that, everyone says you got to have some run good there. What does a run like that do to you? Does it sort of change a little bit of your perspective on the game or the way you play, or it's just like that was fun?
I actually think my perspective of the game changed leading up to it, and sort of caused my, just gave me the ability to make a run like that. It probably had, and it probably started just with the, I had been having success leading up to that, and then obviously the second place finish was huge. And I just knew I had a ton of confidence in my game, combining everything that I had learned from playing online, and now my live skills were really starting to improve. I had been working with Chance Corneth a lot, with Chip Leader Coaching, all those guys over there. That was a fantastic community for me, and I think I just went into that World Series. I mean, I go into every main event thinking I can win this. Like, to be honest, I do it.
And you're plunking down $10,000. It's not a lottery ticket. So.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, things went well for me, but I really felt like I had played my best up until that point. Like, I really my live reads were on. I was passing on close spots. I made some big hero folds, some big hero calls. And I mean, I had the confidence going into it. So, afterwards, I felt fairly vindicated, but not really. I just kind of felt like, that should happen. A deep run in the main should happen every few years. So, I mean, it didn't surprise me one bit. But in the moment, man, what an experience. So much fun. Just doesn't feel real. And it's just, it's so intense.
You take us back to that? Any particular? I mean, like again, it's day 6 or 7, like you say. Every night, after you finish playing, you bag up, you go to sleep, you wake up the next day. Tell us about those feelings.
I mean, I have trouble waking up in the morning, so I have a hard time going to bed. I'm a terrible sleeper, but then once I fall asleep, I hate waking up. So waking me up early in the morning for something is awful. Every day during the main event, my alarm goes off and I'm jumping out of bed. I'm ready to, I'm just so pumped. No, I mean, the feeling was amazing, and I'm always like that with the main event. I still feel like a little kid. I like just so excited. It gets the butterflies going, and I mean, if you can get into day 3, even you get into day 3 with chips, and then it's on, and then it's just. And you just try and stay in the zone, stay focused, stay sharp. The thing that's so great about that tournament is you can take a beat and just keep moving forward. You can run bad for 2 hours and keep moving forward. It's such a deep, long structure. I mean, that tournament, no specific hands or anything that really. I mean, there are a few just sick hero calls and stuff that I made that I love that, like really got me going. But I think just the overall feeling of just like being sharp and focused and in the zone and just realizing what you're playing for. And like, it's like, wow, holy cow, there's 150 players left. Like, this is real. There's 100 players left. There's 80 players left. It's just like, it's getting closer and closer. And it's, you just like, all of a sudden it starts to feel real, like, wow, I can final table this thing.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, there's nothing like it. And that's one of my big goals in poker, is to final table that tournament. And I'm confident that I will at some point, if I keep playing poker for a living, which, I'm not certain if I will or how long I will, but if I do, I'm very confident that if I keep up with the work that I'm putting in, that I'll final table that tournament at least once.
Well, after that year, you got to 41st in 2017. You talk about final tables the following year. You made a couple of them in 2018, and you had your first bracelet win in the 1500 no limit bounty event. So, then you really do, again, like SuperNova Elite, you get to the mountaintop. What's that like?
Yeah, I mean, that was awesome. That was again just sort of like vindicating, an amazing experience, because I had gotten second the year before, and obviously I'd run deep in the main as well, like we were just talking about. But it was really the second place that, I just realized, like if I can get heads up, why can't I win one? I can win one of these tournaments. And yeah, I mean, after a second place and a deep run in the main, coming back the following year, I just had all the confidence in the world. And I just brought my best every tournament. I do that during the World Series. I really get up for the World Series. I prepare for it months ahead of time, and it's it's like no other time in poker. I mean, I know a lot of people who just grind year round, and the World Series is just another series for them. And yes, it might be more value than whatever WPT is going on or something like that, but they kind of treat it as just another part of the year. And for me, there's nothing like it. So I just put like extra effort, extra focus into being prepared for that block of schedule. And I play a lot less volume throughout the rest of the year. I try and get myself mentally prepared for the World Series. And so yeah, I mean, I just started, I had been doing that. I did that in 2017. I came back, did it in 2018, and yeah, every year since. So
I'm curious, you used the particular phrase that, kind of like made my eyes open. They said months ahead of time. So yeah. We're right now, we're at the end of January, this will be, everyone will see this February. So, in a sense, we are kind of months away from the next WSOP. So, at some point you say, okay, like the diet begins today kind of a thing. What does that, what does that look like, that preparation that you start doing?
So I played the 10K Bellagio, the 5 diamond, after the World Series. That's the only poker I've played since the World Series. I haven't played any poker since then. I've taken a break. I'm doing some other stuff. And I will, so the World Series, it starts end of May.
Yeah.
Let's call it June. I will probably, when the schedule comes out, I get excited. I'll take a look at the schedule. I'll have my eye on a few events. And then, maybe I'll just start thinking, okay, well, where do I need to improve? What games do I need to improve? What fields, are there certain events that look really good, like whether it's a mixed game event that I feel confident in or something? Is there something that I want to get better at because the fields are smaller and the chances of winning a bracelet are better? Do I want to work on my no limit? Do I feel sharp with no limit? So I'll probably start in April or maybe even March. I'll start, I can start like a sort of a gradual prep where I'll start playing some mixed games. I'll start studying mixed games and just kind of get a refresher going. And then I usually go down to Mexico to play Scoop, or up to Canada. I'll play some Scoop events because, you're playing against the best in the world. And so it's good to see what some of these players are doing in the high stakes, no limit hold'em tournaments and the mixed games as well. So I'll go battle it out in Scoop a little bit. And that's really, it's as much as I'd be thrilled to win a Scoop, my goal isn't really, I'm going to make money. It's not to not make money, but it is WSOP preparation oriented. It's kind of an educational type thing, or a prep type thing, if you will. And then if I hadn't already been working on my health, I'll start doing that. During the World Series, I'm eating All American Dave, trying to be healthier. I'll be working out, trying to lose some weight going into the World Series. And I'd like to be better at that. That's something that I'm trying to start now instead of just a month or two ahead of time.
There you go.
But then I also want to get my mind right and prepare for long days. I'll start meditating if I haven't been. This year I played a lot of chess, like specifically trying to play chess for long hours without getting tilted. Or if I would get tilted, like I force myself to play through it. And then I'm also going to play online and get myself just like make sure my no limit game feels sharp, and study in areas that, whether I feel like I'm a little rusty or if there's something I feel like I can work on, I'm going to study those areas and talk to people who are good in certain areas that I may be lacking. And then right before the World Series, I almost said my girlfriend, my fiance, and I will take a road trip and just clear our minds.
Nice.
And it'll be a very nature oriented road trip. We did the Pacific Northwest. No, we drove up to Portland. We didn't go all the way up to Seattle or anything, but we drove up through Oregon, hit the ocean, hit the beach, and just had a nice, relaxing, enjoyable, just mind clearing trip. And so we've done Utah in the past. We've done Zion National Park, stuff like that. I just try and and that's like the last week before the World Series where I'll just clear my head, no poker, no nothing. And then day one of the World Series, that's it. It's WSOP time. It's just all that I'm focusing on. I'm very lucky to have someone in my life who understands that. And she's great. She takes care of the dogs during that time a lot more than I do because she knows I'm just, I'm gone 12 hours a day. It's just an all or nothing kind of thing for me.
Shout out to Nikki there, and to the dogs, of course. It's funny. Like I love that you went into such detail. Again, we're not supposed to be results oriented, but that's a lot. I think that folks can take away from that. It's the mindset of a poker professional, and what does it take to approach day one with that sort of. You can't just list the goals and hope that it happens, but like, what do you actually actively do to make those goals happen to the best of your ability? Hell, we see exactly, like I said, you popped onto my radar this time, 2 bracelets, a second place finish in the 50K PPC. Now, we're a couple months beyond that, that's in the rearview mirror. What do you take away from seeing the results? Thankfully, all that stuff kind of paid off, and it was an amazing series for you.
Yeah, I was thrilled with the results. I've known that I've had a series like that in me, and look, I would always be thrilled to have that exact series, right? Two bracelets, if you count the online one as the same in the same series, 2 second places, but I still want to improve on it. World Series Player of the Year has been a goal of mine for a while. And I knew that I would have to learn mixed games, get better at mixed games. So that's a long-term goal of mine. So coming into this next World Series, I want to improve on it. I want to do better than I did this year. So
cool. Well, you said you talk about mixed games. It's no secret, for folks who've been longtime listeners of this podcast. I love mixed games as well. Where do you sort of feel that you're at on the skill games spectrum at this point, now that you've started really putting in the effort to improve?
That's tough. It really depends. It's game by game. Certain games I feel very confident in. Others I feel like I'm still just a complete noob. The one thing I have a lot of confidence in is my ability in tournaments. So you could take, a PLO cash game player who's just gonna crush me in PLO cash, right? If we play heads up PLO cash, or we play full ring or 6-max, whatever it is, over the long run, they're just always gonna have better results than I will. Sure. In a tournament, I feel more confident that, I think I would rather have myself in a tournament than them. And I just think there's a certain ability to know when to kind of pump the brakes, when to get aggressive, when to risk chips, when, how to avoid risking chips when you don't have to. In tournaments, that's fairly unique. I just had a friend call me last night asking about a cash game hand in a 2-5 game. And I told him how I'd play it. And then I realized that might be terrible in a cash game, but it really works in a tournament for this reason, because I'm considering my tournament life. And I think, so I just think tournament strategy is something where I just feel very, very confident with. And so I think any game, if it's in a tournament setting and, ICM comes into play, I think that really helps me out. I think it helps level the playing field for me.
Would you say, someone who does want to get a little bit more into mixed games, that they should nonetheless just focus on generic sort of tournament skills? Or, is there something specific that folks can do to improve their mixed game play beyond just sort of like getting the reps in?
Yeah. So, and that would, again, apply to, whatever they want. For me, I'm learning mixed games so that I can apply them to tournaments. Okay. I'm not looking to play mixed cash games. One day, maybe I will. So if you're, obviously, like if you're looking to play mixed cash games, you're going to take a sort of a different approach than I would. But I think just in general, there are plenty of study tools out there. Dylan Lindy's book was fantastic, Mastering Mixed Games. Yeah. There's the Upswing course was great. Jay Lama's Upswing course was fantastic. Yeah. I loved that. And for me, going back to my roots of, being friends with the right people and, chatting with friends who are just, very knowledgeable. I'm very lucky to, I'm in this little gamer chat where we play all these, just these little like text games with a whole bunch of fantastic poker players and some non-poker players. And I've made some friends through that group that also happen to be fantastic mixed game players. Oais Ahmed, Benny Glazier. Those guys are two of the best in the world at mixed game players. And like, we're good friends just in life, like outside of poker, which is nice. And like, so if I start talking mixed games, they're right there to like, hey, no, you're doing this wrong. You're doing that wrong. Oasis is actually the one who convinced me to sell for the 50K. I never thought I would play that tournament. I had a long-term goal to play that tournament, and I didn't. I thought no way I would play it this year. I won the 8-game mixed, and he hit me up and said, "Hey, you have to sell. Like, you won an 8-game tournament. You should be playing that 50K." And I thought, no way. And I sold out like in like 30 minutes or something like that after posting on Twitter. I couldn't believe it. So he was kind enough to go over some stuff and recommend some books on the games that I felt weaker in. And so, it's kind of the same advice as you would with anything with No Limit Hold'em. Get out there, find the resources. The resources are everywhere. Yeah. In this day and age, but yeah, get out there, find the resources and just study, put in the time and learn.
We did shout out to Dylan Lindy and Benny Glazer. I will just point out, Dylan was episode number 49. If you guys want to go back and listen to that one. And Benny was actually the episode right before this one, episode number 70. Plenty of great mixed game talk. If you guys want to, it's not necessarily a book, or you may not learn the nuts and bolts, but some good mixed game strategy if anyone wants to go back and listen to those episodes. Ryan, it's time to talk about that decision. I'm sure you know which one we're talking about. Why did you decide to invest in Dogecoin?
I actually did invest in Dogecoin. I did very early, and I got out way too early.
That's good.
I'm assuming we're going to talk about a fold.
Yes, well, not exactly. Let's talk briefly just about that hand with the Jungle Man Dan Cates. By now, guys, if you don't know what I'm talking about, just go to YouTube, watch the hand. I mean, and we can sit here and talk all the strategy,
or don't,
angles. Or don't.
Maybe don't go watch that hand. I'm trying to have it scrubbed from the internet.
There you go. Good luck. Petition the Poker Go powers that be. But I don't. Me personally, and I don't know if the audience necessarily sees any value in, analyzing, the nuts and bolts of that hand. But I kind of want to know, sort of, in retrospect now, what has that hand taught you, not just about poker, but kind of about life? I mean, that's something that's an experience that sticks with you. So many people, no matter what they do, they're known for something. And, you've been questioned ad infinitum about this sort of thing. Just sort of like, maybe after the fact now, a couple months have gone by again, how do you reflect on that experience as a whole, and how have you perhaps grown from it?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that I take from it is I'm kind of proud that I'm not afraid to look stupid. And that's something that is huge in, not just in poker, but in improving at anything. You have to look silly, right? Anything that you want to become great at, you just can't be afraid to look silly. And the thing is, in poker, and one of my friends said this, actually, my closest friend said, when you make these big hero calls and big hero folds, you're flying close to the sun. And sometimes you fly a little too close to the sun. Right. You have to do it. You're not always going to be right. So, I mean, if Jungle has two pair there, people are saying, wow, how did Leng make that fold? Yeah. I don't ever look back on it and think, why didn't I just call? I'm proud that I was there in the first place to make the decision. I understand my thought process. I understand maybe why I made the mistake, why I was so kind of mentally fatigued, and maybe why I didn't slow down and just come to the conclusion that, hey, it's only a half a bet. Like, I thought it was a full bet. Right. But even if it is a full bet, I should just call there. But no, I mean, I understand what I was thinking in the moment. I thought that he should never raise with worse than my hand, and that he could never be bluffing. Like, he could never have bluffs there. I just didn't think he would take a hand like King Queen and raise for value. I thought he would just call there and save a bet to try to spin it up if I did happen to have him beat. And so that's what I was thinking, and I don't think that thought is too far out of line. I think I was getting something like 11 or 12 to 1, and in my mind, he wouldn't have worse 1 out of 12 times. I didn't think he'd have it 1 out of 50 times. So that's what I was thinking at the time. And yeah, I mean, I'm kind of happy that I turned it into a learning opportunity for other people. And yeah, I'll grow from it. I will, but then again, if I'm put in the same spot next year, if I think it's right to fold, I'll make the fold. I've made crazy plays in my career. I've made crazy bluffs, crazy hero calls, crazy hero folds. I think that overall they add value to my game. I'm more often right than I am wrong. And in the biggest moment of my career, I was wrong. Oh well, doesn't bother me. I'll move on from it. I'll learn. All the credit in the world to Jungle Man. I mean, he's so good. He's such a genius. And that wasn't even, I mean, he beat me up for like 2 days straight in that tournament. It wasn't even just that hand. So yeah, I mean, it didn't get to me. I don't look back and think, oh, I wish I would have done something different. I'm thrilled with the year that I had, with the result that I had, and thrilled with where I am now and what I can do moving forward. So yeah, just have to learn from it.
Yeah, and that's a pretty great attitude. And I think, if I told you right now, if I knew the future and said, hey, you'll be at the final table again at 50K PPC, you'd be pretty happy about it. That's my guess.
Yeah, I would be thrilled. I'd be thrilled with second place.
There you go. Just to change gears just a little bit, get the last couple questions of mine in before we move to the community questions. One question we always like to ask our guests here, the friendliest poker podcast in town. Who is the friendliest or are the friendliest players you've had the pleasure of competing with and against at the Felt, Brian?
Oh, the friendliest. Well, we were just talking about him, Dylan Lindy. Everybody loves him. He's such a sweetheart. We've actually gotten to watch his dog when he when they go out of town twice. River, who is, I just love River, adorable dog. He's one that just always pops up. Like, everybody loves Dylan. If I sit down next to Dylan, like, it sucks because he's fantastic at poker, but I'm thrilled. I want to sit and chat with him. Let's see, who else? Friendliest. Ryan the Plant is one of my best friends. He's obviously a super friendly guy. Chance Corneth, everybody loves him. He's super, super nice, always very friendly. He's someone who really helped my career quite a lot in just getting coaching from him. So I think those three.
Yeah, good shout.
I feel like I'm missing someone, and I'm going to think about it after the interview, and I'm going to feel bad that I forgot to mention him.
Well, shout out to that person too. So there you go. Yeah. You did mention Ryan again. I got to point it out. Episode 33. He was on the podcast before, and not only that, Ryan is also works intently with CardsChat. I believe he's a CardsChat ambassador as well. How about away from the Felt? Besides perhaps the dogs and going on long walks on the beach in Oregon. Any other, and I guess recreational ice hockey. Any sort of other stuff you do during your downtime away from the Felt?
Yeah, so during the pandemic, I started golfing, and I got obsessed with it. So I haven't golfed a whole lot yet this year, or this season, I guess you would call it. It's perfect time to golf now in Vegas, nice and cool. I think I'm going to hit it pretty hard over the next few months. But yeah, I love golfing. Spending time with my dogs. Nikki and I are looking to buy a house soon. I like playing tennis and pickleball. I used to play a lot of pickleball with all the poker players who play. I played a bunch with Berkey and that whole crew. I could stand to get back into all of that. I was spending a decent amount of time in the gym leading up to the World Series, and then since the World Series, I haven't done anything. So getting back in the gym would be a nice thing to do. But yeah, it was something that I was spending my time doing a little bit.
Cool. Always good to know, the Ryan that we don't see necessarily on camera. That's very cool. Yeah. Thanks to my trusty research squad, James Gwell, shout out to you. Discovered a very interesting nugget, Ryan. Apparently, you don't like most movies about gambling, and you don't like rounders. How are you even allowed to play poker?
I know, right? I don't want to say that I don't like rounders. It's fine. It's fine. That's it. It's so overrated in the poker community. It's just an okay movie. I don't know. I watched Casino Royale, the James Bond movie, the other day, and that poker scene is just so absurd. Every gambling scene, it's just the royal flush, first the straight flush, first quads. Like, come on. I don't know.
How would you script something differently if you were creating a gambling movie?
I would make it just a little more realistic. I try and show the intricacies of the thought process that we all go through when we think about hands. I try to display that subjectively to an audience that maybe doesn't understand poker. I would try to highlight the work ethic that goes into poker, and it's actually something that I want to do. I'm very interested in film and writing, and it's something that I'm kind of experimenting with right now. It hasn't really taken hold as far as like something that whether I know I want to commit to it, but it is a possibility. So I actually do have a screenplay that I'm working on that's it involves poker. It's about a poker player, but it's more about their life and what they go through and less about the poker. But for me, I'm a film snob. Any of my friends who, if you ask them about me in film, they're going to say I'm pretentious, and I own it. I totally get it. I get why people love rounders. For me, I just it just doesn't do it for me.
Fair take. Okay, I admire the honesty. Last question from me. Like you're still, I would say, as much as you've done in poker, relatively early on in your career, there's so many more great years potentially ahead of you. Is legacy something you ever sort of think about? Kind of leaving your mark in the game, and if so, what would you like that to be?
That's interesting. It hasn't been such a big thing for me, although I mean, I love the allure of the bracelet. I love, I get it when like Phil Hellmuth chasing bracelets, Sean Deeb saying that he can beat Phil Hellmuth one day. I love it, and like going for player of the year, all of that. I think I must care somewhat because player of the year, who cares about I don't even know what first. I think first place gets like 25K. If you win player of the year, you're winning, $1 million plus. Like who cares about that 25K at that point?
You get the banner.
You get the banner. And yeah, I would, I have friends who are, up on the walls at the Rio, which, will now be Bally's Paris.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I must subconsciously care about it because I would love to have my banner up there for player of the year. I don't have any kids yet. I think if I did, I think maybe I would care a little bit more about legacy. But when all said and done, all that I really care about is the people, the people that I respect, my colleagues, that they appreciate the work that I put in and the effort that I gave, and then I tried to make it fun. That I tried to be fun at the table. I mean, I'm somewhat of an introverted person, but I really do think it's important to have fun at the poker table, even when things get really serious. I don't care if you're playing for $1 million at a final table. I think it should always be fun, and so I hope people view me in that way as someone who worked hard, had fun, and enjoyed it. Because I mean, if we're not enjoying poker, why are we doing it?
Legit answer. And I would venture to say that folks in the CardsChat community already do see you in that light. Like I said in the intro, you got more questions submitted for you than anyone else we've had on the podcast until now. This is the segment of the show where we turn to our CardsChat community, to you guys, to see what questions you wanted to ask our guests. And again, we do have a dedicated thread on the CardsChat forums for this. So as we announce who the future guests will be, please be sure to send in your questions. And the first ones come from Chica Bonita. Thank you so much for sending this one in. Ryan, Chica Bonita wants to know, do you go to tournaments alone, or are you accompanied by one of your friends or relatives? Who supports you? Do your relatives root for you?
Yeah, so as far as going to tournaments, I live here in Vegas, and I don't travel a whole lot for tournaments. When I do travel, it could be alone, it could be with friends, it depends who's going. And yeah, my family, they're my biggest supporters. My mom, my dad, my mother-in-law, Ilana, she was just out here. I actually used to deal poker to her before I met Nikki.
Wow.
So when I was dealing at those charity events, she would play 1-2 and 2-5. And I met her before Nikki, so she loves poker. So yeah, she's one of my biggest fans. So yeah, the three of them, and then my best friend Matt, as well, is just always really interested, him and his wife Julia. So yeah, they're my biggest fans, and yeah, it's great. They always show up when I make a final table, so it's awesome to have them on the rail.
Pretty cool. When you got your mother-in-law in your corner, it's a good spot to be in.
Yeah,
that's very cool. Pirate Glenn, thank you so much for sending these in. Pirate Glenn wants to know, Ryan, of your 3 bracelets and 4 rings, are there any of those wins that stand out for you in terms of memorable moments or particularly great plays you made en route?
Ooh, memorable moments or great plays. I mean, the first bracelet sticks out massively. That for me was just such a defining moment in my career. As far as great plays, I mean, I've made so many of them, it's just so hard to distinguish. No, no, there was never any like one great play. It's always just kind of been more of like consistency. Like, thinking about my first bracelet, I I thought of one hand where I like flatted with aces versus an under the gun open in a spot where it wound up, paying off huge. I busted a player, like got me the chip lead heading into like 6 or 7 handed, and that it kind of like boosted me into a position where I could really kind of crush the final 6-5-4 moving forward, and I got myself heads up. So I mean, but that hand is not even that interesting. It's it's a hand that, like, where I just flatted aces and just trapped. And I mean, we've all done it. We do it on day one of a tournament, or a few hours into an online tournament. It's just like, oh, we win a nice pot, but it just happened to be one that boosted me. But yeah, I mean, aside from that, I mean, nothing, no like massive hands or anything where I thought like, oh man, like what a crazy play I made that that got me the win. It's more just like staying focused and playing well all the way through.
That's fair. And Pirate Lynn also wants to know, with today's current online poker market, so many high value tournaments available to play, how do you decide which ones to fire off in?
So I don't play on any of the unregulated sites. Enough people have been burned. I know of cheating going on. I know of people multi-accounting. So I only play on WSOP.com. I live here in Vegas. It's the only site I can play on. I'm excited for the prospect of new companies entering the market and more states entering the market, and I'll play on whatever sites become available that are regulated and trustworthy. But yeah, for me, I mostly just play the online circuit events on WSOP and the online bracelet events, because they attract so many more recreational players, and there's just more money, a lot more money up top, plus a ring and a bracelet. And I love the accolades. I'm a sucker for the jewelry. I want the rings and the bracelets. So yeah, I choose those tournaments. But yeah, I mean, I know there's a ton of other great value tournaments on other sites, and that's kind of something that each player just has to kind of decide for themselves what kind of risks they're willing to take, what kind of sites they want to play on. So yeah.
Answer. I mean, I'm also a sucker for a ring and a bracelet, but it's one to just be one and not have any. And someone who's got his hands full of jewelry. Shells, thank you so much for submitting this question. Which is your favorite NHL hockey team?
Oh, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, without a doubt. It's not even close. I grew up. So I grew up in Illinois, but the Blackhawks weren't my favorite team. I liked different teams at different points in my childhood. I loved Doug Gilmour and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Then I loved Mike Modano and the Dallas Stars. I loved the Florida Panthers for a while. It was really more about like liking certain players, but I never felt like I had a home team of my own. So I never liked the Blackhawks. I was always a bit of a contrarian when I was a kid. I didn't like Chicago sports teams because all my friends did. And my family is from the East Coast. I was born in New Hampshire, so I liked a lot of the Boston sports teams. But with the NHL, I never had a team of my own. And the Vegas Golden Knights became a team the year I moved to Vegas, and I fell in love with them. There is nothing like a Vegas Golden Knights playoff game. The atmosphere. I mean, you would think Las Vegas wouldn't be like a hockey town. I mean, you get it. You're in that like the intensity is unbelievable. Like this city loves our hockey team, and it feels like you're up in Canada when you're watching a game. The passion of these local fans. So Vegas Golden Knights, far and away. It's. I decided I'm going to be a Vegas home fan for every sport, and I'm trying with the Raiders. I'm trying, but it's not even that they don't win. It's just like they're hard to love. It doesn't feel like our team, and the Vegas Golden Knights that feels like my team. So
like it.
Yeah.
At least we have a very nice stadium, though, Allegiant Stadium.
Yeah.
But I have not yet had the pleasure, but I keep on hearing that about that electric atmosphere. So maybe next time I'll check it out.
Oh yeah, so good.
And one more from Shells. What's something you have been meaning to try but just haven't gotten around to?
Interesting.
Yeah, we've got some good questions this week.
That's really tough. What is something I want to try?
I'll give you a time bank, Chip. It's okay.
I could think of a few things where like like I always wanted to skydive, but that's just not going to happen now that I'm getting older. Yeah, so something that I want to try that I haven't yet done. There's two things, and I work on both of these things when I take my time off, and neither have like really stuck yet. That's A, start a business, and B, write a film. And so I'll say the thing that I want to do the most that I mean, I have technically started trying, but like something I haven't completed. I would like to write a film. I'd like to write a full script, and yeah, try to eventually get something on TV or in theaters.
Pretty cool. Hollywood producers, if you're listening, we got a star ready to be born here. So, Crystals, thank you so much for submitting this. Another hockey question: who was your favorite hockey player growing up?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I kind of touched on that. It was Doug Gilmour for a bit, then Mike Modano. But hey, I was number 9 for Mike Modano, so I was always number 9 growing up. So I'll say if I could only pick one, it was Mike Modano. He was the best American born hockey player. So.
And the next one, okay, you also kind of touched on this, but I'm curious of the specific answer from Crystals. All of your big wins have come in the US. Have you ever had the desire to play internationally in some of the big series? And if so, where's the first place you'd like to play?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the favorite cities that I've been to, I went to Melbourne to play in the Aussie Millions.
Nice.
And I have 10 $100 chips from Crown Casino somewhere here in my office on my desk. And so I was running late leaving, and I thought, I loved it here so much, I'll keep these chips. So I know I have to go back. And then COVID.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be my number one place. I love the city so much, and it coincides with the Australian Open tennis tournament.
Yeah.
And I love tennis, so I saw Nadal play Djokovic in the finals that year.
Oh, wow.
That was awesome. So yeah, that's probably the number one place that I want to go back to. I had also planned on going to Barcelona for the PokerStars PSPC.
Yeah, that's the one,
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we had an awesome trip planned for that.
Mm.
I was going to go, so it was going to be Ryan LePlante and his fiance and Nikki and I and a few other friends. And we were going to fly into Germany and then just take trains down and just enjoy different countries, spend 2 weeks getting down to Barcelona. And then we were going to play the tournament. So that's another one that's just up there. If that tournament runs, yeah, I'll definitely play that.
I certainly hope it runs. And I like also the consistency there, similar to before the World Series, like clear your head, that kind of thing going into the series so you can optimally perform. Very cool. Yep. Pocket Ace 222. Thank you very much. It's a name I haven't seen before. Thank you for submitting this question. Ryan, Pocket Ace wants to know. It's a cool, instructive question. What is the best thing to do when you're going through a long losing streak? I'm losing a lot lately, and I'll cash, but min cash, and then I'll lose 6 more tournaments, then min cash.
I would spend more time studying. So let's say you're spending, 1/5 of your time studying and 4/5 playing. I would go down. I'd study 1/3 and play 2/3. Take some time away from the felt. Lower your stakes, whether it's tournament buy-ins or cash games. Drop down in stakes. Get some confidence going. Take some time away from the game. Do some stuff to clear your head. A lot of times you can get in these kind of mental funks where you kind of expect to lose and you're not feeling confident and you're not playing your best. So clear your head, spend some time studying, hit the books and lower the stakes.
Solid advice there. I can, not that I'm a professional, but I can confirm that does tend to work. And no, he doesn't always have it. Just letting you guys know, he doesn't always have it. Final submitter of questions here, Acid Burn FX. Thank you so much for sending these in. Always ask some great questions, sometimes from right field, the more creative questions. So to end off the show, Ryan, if you could dedicate your life to solving what problem would you choose?
Wow. Okay, so I think there are some easy answers here, and I'm going to skip those. Obviously, like world hunger, stuff like that. I'm going to skip those as much as I would love to solve those. I would say just death in general. I'm fascinated by life extension and the possibility of eternal life on Earth. I think it's science fiction at this point. But I'm super fascinated by it. Fascinated by these guys like Ray Kurzweil and Aubrey de Grey, who believe that the first person to live to be 500 years old is alive today. I don't know if they are right. I mean, it's certainly at this point, like I said, it's science fiction. But yeah, I would try and solve that problem. I think I'm fascinated by long-term evolution of our species, the potential that we have. When I think about the universe, when I look up at the stars, and you just realize how many different civilizations there must be out there, and think of think about how advanced we are now, and think about where we could be in a million years. And I think that one of those things is conquering death and becoming an immortal species. So that would be the thing. If I had the power to work on something, change something, that would be it.
Making me want to rewatch Bicentennial Man, a great movie with Robin Williams, if you haven't seen that. Two more, also from Acid Burn FX. Again, biggies here. We got to end off with the haymakers. If you could go back in time to change one thing, what would it be?
I don't. The easy answer is to just call with the Jungle Man hand, but I'm going to.
Amazing. Well played. Well played.
I don't like the idea of messing with time, with the space-time continuum. I'm too afraid I go back in time and I fix one thing, and then we have World War III. But no, so I would probably go back and just be closer to the loved ones that I've lost over the years. To those that I've lost, by whether younger ages, I would go back and try and stop it. Right.
Cool. Yeah, okay. And final question: what one thing could you not go a day without, and why?
That's tough because I want to say something like my dogs, but I do spend time away with them. I don't know. One thing I couldn't go a day without. I don't know. I don't think there's anything in my life that I haven't, been able to take a day off of. I guess just having the love from my friends and family. I guess if I couldn't have that, I mean, I don't necessarily have to speak to them every day, but if I didn't have my friends and family and their support, if I went a day without having that, just maybe just not knowing that it exists, that would be pretty rough.
It's a pretty beautiful note on which to end this conversation. I want to say thanks so much to everyone who sent in questions for Ryan Leng. And again, a friendly reminder to all of you out there in the CardsChat community. We'd love to see you submit your questions for our future podcast guests in the dedicated thread on the forums. Please be sure to give us a good review on iTunes and spread the word via your social media accounts if you liked the show. Ryan, before we let you go, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience?
No, just thanks for listening. Thanks for having me on. Go adopt a dog. Go adopt a pet.
There you go. There you go. Thanks again so much, Ryan. Thank you all for tuning in once again to another episode of the CardsChat podcast. I'm Robbie Strazynski. You can follow me on Twitter @CardPlayerLife. I wish you all a wonderful day.